Good afternoon, Motor Valley. Here we go again. This is the second appointment for today. We are going through many of the most exciting places and companies in the Motor Valley. We are visiting museums of the brands that are located here in the Motor Valley in Emilia-Romagna. And as you have probably already understood, we are in the MuDeTec, the Lamborghini Museum. But before I introduce to you the person who will be our guide for today, I would like to recall and to remind that for those who are following us from abroad, they will have the translation in a few days. Well, I have Francesco Stevanin here. He is the director, the responsible of the historical department containing also the Museum of Lamborghini. Thanks for welcoming us. Thanks for having us. Good morning, everybody. I had the chance to visit this beautiful museum some months ago, and it is really exciting because here you can find, guys, beautiful cars. I think that these are cars that you couldn't even find in the garage of the richest collectors. Yes, I would like to make a brief remark. Up until the last year, this museum had a different name. We wanted to change the name because we would like to think in a different way and to show our history and tradition differently. So MuDeTec stands for Museum of Technique of Lamborghini. Our motto is Future Shapers since 1963. So we have been shaping the future since 1963. We have always wanted to be futuristic, cutting-edge engineers. So today's visit is not going through every detail because we want you to be curious. We want to open our doors again in summer so that you can visit our museum. So we will just give you some pills just to show you some milestones of our history. We have been shaping the future since 1963, as I was saying. As you know, Automobili Lamborghini was founded in 1963, but let's step back in time. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born in Ferrara in 1916. He was born in a family of farmers, but he didn't like that kind of job. He didn't want to be a farmer. He loved mechanics. So he started to study mechanics. During the Second World War, for example, he was moved to Rodi. So in that period, he monitored all the military vehicles of the platoon in which he was. So he started to love mechanics again. He decided to convert, to transform the tanks of that period so that those tanks could have been used as tractors. He became a successful entrepreneur. He founded the first company of tractors in Cento, a small village, and he became a client, a customer of a sports car because he loved sports car. Then he realized that he was not satisfied by the market and he decided to found his own enterprise. In 1963, he bought a plot of land in Sant'Agata Bolognese and he hired a group of engineers, like for example Mr. Stanzani. He has been a building block of our company for several years. And in 1963, he presented the 360 GTV in the Salone of Torino. This car was considered too futuristic. The car had very taut lines, so he was not receiving any order. He was not selling. So in less than 1 year, they started to study a possible evolution of this car. They started to create a sport car combining performance, driving pleasure, and luxury. So the 350 GT arrived. The line were reviewed as a touring car with a light structure, with a space frame on which some panels creating the body were placed. The engine was created by Giotto Bizzarini, an engineer of that time. So everything started in these years. This is a two-seat car. Then the car was transformed and it welcomed also a third seat. But this was the starting point with about 150 cars manufactured. Wonderful. Congratulations. So with this unit, we are accessing the museum. We wanted, well, Lamborghini has always wanted to be a forerunner. They have always wanted to combine technique and innovation. The cameraman could film an overview of the museum of this ground floor, because in the ground floor we have collected the most iconic moments of our past. Here we show some units, some cars of up until the year 2000. For example, the Diablo. Here you have many iconic cars, and I would like to spend a few words on this iconic car, the Miura. This is considered the first supercar, and we have the propeller here of the Miura. This was considered the first super sport car with the engine assembled in a central position, central transverse position, with an integrated gearbox. So the chassis and the project was managed by Mr. Dallara. You have visited the academy some hours ago. So super sport cars of Lamborghini originated from Miura. Now we can approach this Miura. Miura was officially presented as a rolling chassis in 1965. We were at the Salone di Torino, and Nuccio Bertone was talking to Fioruccio Lamborghini back in that time at the Salone di Torino, and according to what people say, Nuccio Bertoni told Fioruccio Lamborghini, "You have the perfect feet, I will tailor this car around your feet." So the mechanic idea was there, but they had no clue about the line. So Bertone started to work on the vehicle. The vehicle was finished around Christmas time of 1965, but it was presented in 66 as a P400. We have here a Miura SV. The models were P400, Miura S, and Miura SV. The car was integrated in terms of performance and in terms of finishings and luxury. This car is from 1972. The production of the SV finished in 1973, and about 762 units were manufactured for three models, and these are the most iconic models of cars worldwide. For example, this car appears in a movie, a very famous one, The Italian Job. In this movie, we can see this car climbing a mountain and then falling down a cliff. Wonderful. Congratulations. At the bottom, I see a Countach and also an LM002. Yes, let's keep on talking about history and our traditions. Miura had a very wonderful period between 1966 and 1973. Ferruccio Lamborghini was still in the company, and Lamborghini wanted to astonish people, to astonish their fans, their supporters. And there was a strong relationship with Bertone. In fact, the two companies decided to manufacture an extreme car, the Countach. The Countach was presented as a prototype, so different from the production cars in terms of technical solution. It was presented, as I was saying, in 1971 in Geneva, and then it was presented as a production car in 1973. Here, just to give you an idea, we are going to make a comparison, because in a few years, between 1966 and the beginning of 1974, we have a Countach chassis, a space frame, this is how it is called, and on the other hand, we have a Miura. The Miura had a chassis body. And we see a very strong evolution. It is a sort of racing approach. Many ideas were taken from the racing world, and we saw that in the suspensions which were assembled on Uniball. In terms of design, Miura was cutting edge. They were doing really unprecedented things. Try to imagine the Motor Show of Geneva in 1971 when the LP 500 was presented. LP stands for rear longitudinal chassis. So in this case, we have a combination of ideas, of creativity. Mr. Stanzani was proposing the V2 engine assembled in a central position with the gear inside the cockpit to centralize masses and the breathtaking line. Here we are in the core. in the very heart of the 70s. We have straight and taut lines. This car is about 1 meter high. So try to imagine this car in the motor show back in that period. It was yellow in that time. From the technical point of view, the chassis was a monocoque. Then production decided to have a simple solution, which was a frame body. So this car is the 001. This means that once it was destroyed for the crash test to do the type approval, they decided to create more units, and this is the number one. This car has a very peculiar history. In the 73, at the beginning of the year, it was presented in red with black interior in Geneva. Then in autumn, in Paris Motor Show, the color was changed to green with the leather interior in olive color. The car stayed a shorter time in the company because at the beginning of 74 it was sold to a client, and the original interior was lost because in the pre-production series it was assembled on a car production series. Then this car shows many differences because the Countach production car has the whole lower structure, um, so the fiberglass loading bag, for example, when it was disassembled, we found out that all the aluminum panels had been hand beaten and riveted. So the structure of the lower chassis was a prototype. This car was restyled 3 times. We found 3 interiors colors. They were black, olive, and tobacco color. And we considered that in 2021, when the 50th anniversary of LP 500 will be celebrated, we are going to do some finishing in the body because I think that some details deserve more attention. And here we have a further iconic car. This is a giant step forward, an idea by Mr. Alfieri, an engineer. We are in 1976, and I would like to use the term outrageous because I think this is one of the most outrageous cars ever built because this is an unprecedented idea from many points of view. Sorry, we are talking about 3,500 kilograms of mass. We are talking about LM002. Everything started with a couple of orders coming from the army. Let's now see some aspects. Here, the aesthetic recalls the Lamborghini cars from the 70s, so very taut lines. But now we are in the 80s. Before I said 76, but actually we are in the 80s, 86. Here we are not talking about an off-road vehicle. We are talking about the first SUV. We have the four-wheel drive, we have the low-range gearbox, we have also the front differential, and this car could really climb up until 45 degrees. But in spite of all these, this is a luxury car. So it is an off-road car, but also a luxury car. You can also film an overview if you want. Okay, let's keep our distance because we need to respect social distancing. So as I was saying, this car was thought for the Middle East market. Many personalities, famous personalities, VIPs had this car, for example, Sylvester Stallone. If I'm not wrong, this was the last car produced, and it is right-hand drive. Everything like the hood is in fiberglass. In terms of type approval, this car was originated with the carburetor, 5 liters, 4 valves. Then the injection system was integrated. But apart from the great difference regarding the US market, in the rest of the markets, we made some adjustments. But actually, we have always been loyal to the original idea. Well, actually, it's beautiful. I know that there is another floor upstairs. Please, no, please, you go first. The guest is sacred. So in this floor, we are going to see something a bit more modern. Okay, you say modern. When someone says modern, or when someone listens modern, they suddenly think of a breaking point, a fracture from the past. But these two flaws don't want to give the idea of a detachment from the past. We don't want to separate the past and the future, or the past and the present. We just want to stress the continuing work that has been done. We have always been cutting edge. We have always wanted to go beyond the others. We have always wanted to think in a cross-cutting way. And it is a sort of fil rouge, a sort of leitmotif connecting all the cars, both the cars of the past and the cars of the present. Obviously, these are more modern cars, but continuity and constance is there. It is a matter of fact. On this side, you can find the few of very few units. Here you have the Reveton, the Veneno, and the Centenario. I would like to go over the Centenario and to focus on the Centenario, but you can film an overview if you want. Once our doors will be open again, you can come here and visit the place. We rely on very well prepared guides, so they will tell you everything about these cars. For each car, you have touch screens. You can study there the most interesting elements of every car, technical data, design, specifics, when they were born, and the original idea at the base of every car. And you can also find the number of units, so the number of cars for each model. Here we are in a very important area of the museum, because here we have always wanted to think in an extreme way. We have always wanted to be cutting edge. In fact, each of these cars has had specific components and technical elements that later on have been implemented, have been assembled in the production cars, because these ones at the beginning were prototypes. And the last car of this generation of vehicles is a car I really love, and it is the Centenario. The name was selected to celebrate in 2016 the 100th anniversary of Ferruccio Lamborghini's birth. We are talking about an extreme car, 1,500 kilos of mass. The engine is similar to the Aventador. It is 770 horsepower, but the most fascinating feature of this car is the massive use of carbon for the whole car body. It is a carbon monocoque, four-wheel drive. Rear wheels are steering wheels, so they accompany the vehicle dynamic, so to increase the cornering efficiency, so both performance and safety. And in the back part, we have an automatic wing that, together with a range of sensors, give you the opportunity to change the dynamic load according to driving conditions. So the dynamic load changes according to the kind of road we are running through, whether it is a straight line or a corner. I know that 20 coupe have been manufactured and 20 roadsters, so totally 40 units. Let's now switch to a limited series. We are always talking about exclusive cars, extreme cars that are very telling and representative for Lamborghini. This is the Aventador SVJ. It was presented 1 year ago in California. So these two cars are similar. The only difference is the roll bar, because of safety and because of extinguishing system. It was used to beat the record in Nürburgring. It was a production car, and in this case too, it is the maximum, the top evolution of the Aventador. And now I'm going to show you some more details of the technical concepts of this car. Here we have the Lamborghini Variable Aerodynamics, ALA. This is the acronym. Here you can see this rear wing. Apparently, it looks like it is a fixed one, but actually there are airflows going inside, some flaps open and close, so the adjustment of the aerodynamic load in this car changes, and it is distributed between the left side and the right side. So everything related to the yaw and to the aerodynamics is electronically managed. It is managed also thanks to the four-wheel drive and thanks to the modern sensors. Well, apart from that, we also have the variable aerodynamics of Lamborghini. It has a top performance. It is an extreme car, like many customers say, and many collectors say as well. Some of them are very fortunate owners of these 900 cars, and they all say that it is a real Lamborghini. Now, about aesthetic, the director of the style center, Mitya Burker, always stresses the fact that we need to recall the Gandini line. So if you take a look at the side of the car, we are still evolving, we are addressing the future, but at the same time we are recalling the past. This car has a very good distribution of weight, and in the previous car as well. Now, about series, I would like to be short because then I would like to talk about some other parts of the museum. This car offers you driving pleasure. It is a Huracan Evo Spider. We are talking about the Evo Evolution with the rear wing system, four-wheel drive, but with the same driving pleasure of an open car. And if we want to talk about a further production car, a very important car in this era is the Urus. We have been forerunners with the LM002 because we have invented the first SUV. Well, this one in front of you is the Super SUV. It is the champion of super SUVs. We have carbon ceramic brakes. Inside we have the best system you can find in the market. The engine is a 4-liter. It is 650 horsepower. Some styling has been taken from the previous cars. We have the top of the comfort in the interior and beautiful performance. We have the possibility of customizing this car because there are different driving profiles and you can select them in this cylindrical section inside at the center of the car. There you can select different driving modalities, driving modes according to your profiles, and this mode is called Ego. So you have comfort, you have performance, and you have a very good traction thanks to the suspension travel, about 100 millimeters. So you have beautiful performance when cornering and when you go off-road. And here we have the third millennium. Before talking about the MuDeTec, I would like to stress this Vanguard car. It was presented in 2017 as a new concept. It was born thanks to a collaboration together with the MIT, and this car could represent the future in terms of super sport car, totally electric super sport car. So here we wanted to make everything electric. We wanted to go electric in every component almost. We have 4 electric engines working on the 4 wheels. But the most beautiful thing is the fact that inside the body you have tubes working like capacitors. So the functions of these tubes is being capacitors. So this car can detect some possible problems not only in the electric part, but also taking information from these capacitors and providing a diagnostic information related to the functioning of the car. This is the future of motorsport. Okay, I would like to film this overview because there is a marvelous Miura from 2006. So please come here once it will be possible. Come here to see this beautiful exhibition of cars at MuDeTec. Regarding MuDeTec, why don't you tell me something about the museum experience? Okay, here you have seen the concept of a continuing line, the constant vanguard, the fact of being future shapers. But apart from that, in this museum, we want to learn and we want to teach, we want to train. We offer two training programs for students. One is related to the composite materials, the technology of composite material used in Lamborghini. And this training program has been thought and managed together with R&D. And also, we have created a further training program related to the interior ergonomics. We also wanted to provide the same possibilities for people who are less fortunate than us, like, for example, hearing impaired people. Through a reservation, we can offer a visit that is performed by a person who is familiar with sign language, so a sign language interpreter. And in this part of the museum, you have the possibility of setting up your car. It is called the ad personam corner. Here you can set up your car. Every Lamborghini client can arrive. They come here and they decide what material they want to use to build their car, and then you can have fun here creating your Lamborghini car. A further aspect that I want to stress is interaction. So we don't only have touch screens providing information about vehicles, but we also have different kinds of interaction. We have a drive simulator that is available for those who follow a guided tour, and we have a brain room as well. In this room, you are surrounded by images and sounds of Lamborghini engines. Well, let's go and see it. I didn't want to start the engine because I want you to be curious. I don't want to show everything now in this virtual tour. But just to give you an idea of the beauty of this experience, I will just let you in this room. I don't want the cameraman to stumble. So here you are surrounded by images, the acoustics aspect, the sounds have been studied in detail, and in the middle you have the engine. You will be hearing, you will be listening the sounds coming from all the screen you see around you. It is as if you were in the engine compartment. So it is a 360 experience, a sensory experience, and these mirrors make you feel as if there were no space. And let's now take a look at the drive simulator. We have selected Huracan Evo and a very well-known racetrack in this area, the Imola racetrack. Here we have a volunteer driving for us. And we are going to show you a virtual lap of this Imola racetrack. Here we go. When the traffic light goes green, you can start. Yeah, we can easily recognize Imola racetrack. So it is a very dynamic simulator because thanks to these sensors you can reproduce all the driving feeling, all the driving feeling, yes. And so when someone comes here, you can also drive a Lamborghini thanks to this drive simulator. And the last thing I would like to tell about this museum is that when you come for a visit, you can also take a look at the production line. So the production lines are still in the original building of 1963. In 1963, in those buildings, you could have found Mr. Lamborghini working in his office. But now, if you go there, if you go to those buildings, you will see where the 350 GT were born. So thank you very much. Unfortunately, this is all for now, but there are still many things to study and to appreciate here. So come here to MuDeTec. We are going to meet in the next broadcasting. Thank you very much. You can find more information at www.motorvalleyfest.it.